Plymouth recording -2 degrees Celsius, whilst Aberdeen sits at a relatively balmy 6 degrees. Yes, you heard that correctly. The southwest colder than the northeast. Is your area about to face the most unsettled spell of weather we've seen since early January? Because right now, the Met Office has issued yellow warnings affecting over 15 million people across the UK, with persistent rain, brisk winds, and temperatures struggling to reach double figures. In the next 90 seconds, I'm going to tell you exactly when this weather arrives in your area. But first, drop your location in the comments right now, and I'll give you a personalised forecast in tomorrow's update. London, cloudy through the weekend, temperatures 8 to 9 degrees Celsius. Rain arrives late this evening, clearing by dawn Sunday. Manchester staying wetter for longer, showers persisting through Sunday afternoon, 7 to 8 degrees. Birmingham, intermittent showers both days, around 8 degrees. Glasgow, wet weather intensifies Sunday afternoon as a weather front pushes in from the Atlantic, 6 to 7 degrees. Cardiff sees the heaviest rain today fading, then a drier Sunday developing, 7 to 9 degrees. Belfast, grey and damp Saturday, but potential brightness Sunday afternoon, around 7 degrees. Now, here's what the models are currently showing, and this is where it gets interesting. The Met Office Unified Model and the European Centre Model are in fairly good agreement for the weekend itself, both depicting this area of low pressure sitting almost stationary over the British Isles. But as we look towards the middle of next week, there is a significant divergence. The Met Office model suggests another Atlantic depression arriving Wednesday, whilst the European model shows a brief ridge of high pressure building in, potentially giving us a drier interlude. This 50 to 70 kilometre difference in the positioning of that low pressure system changes everything for southern England and Wales. We should have much better clarity on this by tomorrow morning's model runs. Let me take you through the current situation. That swirl of cloud on satellite imagery is our dominant feature through the weekend, an area of low pressure parked over us. The southeasterly wind is feeding moisture in from the North Sea, creating a sharp contrast. Eastern Scotland down through Yorkshire, Lincolnshire into Norfolk and Suffolk, you re-getting cloud, drizzle, and that damp, penetrating cold that makes 6 degrees feel like 2. When you factor in wind chill along those North Sea coasts, we re-talking feels like temperatures of 2 or 3 degrees. Scarborough, Whitby, Berwick upon Tweed wrap up properly. Meanwhile, Western Scotland, Cumbria, parts of Wales, you are in a rain shadow. Brighter conditions, perhaps some sunshine, temperatures reaching 9 or 10 degrees in favoured spots. Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, you are stuck in that dull damp zone. Rain at times, nothing heavy, just persistent and rather dreary. Leeds and Sheffield are on the western edge, so slightly brighter, perhaps catching the odd shower. Nottingham, Leicester, Birmingham, Coventry, Wolverhampton, intermittent showers throughout. Derby and Stoke, similar pattern, now the southwest. Exeter, Plymouth, Penzance, the worst rain is easing after recent drenching over the past few days and nights. The good news is you will still see some showers Saturday, but generally things are turning drier compared to what UV had. Plymouth at -2 this morning, quite a shock, but temperatures recovering to 7 or 8 this afternoon. Bristol similar, drier conditions developing, temperatures 7 to 9 degrees. Southampton, Portsmouth along the south coast, you are looking at a mixture of cloud and brighter spells, perhaps catching the odd shower, 8 to 9 degrees. Bournemouth and Poole, same story. Brighton, Eastbourne, Dover, Folkestone, you could see more organised rain this evening, moderately heavy for a time but clearing by midnight. Canterbury similar. Oxford, Cambridge, Reading, Swindon, Milton Keynes, quite grey all weekend with that anticyclonic gloom effect where cloud just sits there, 7 to 8 degrees. It's all rather uninspiring. Wales deserves particular attention because there is quite a contrast developing. Cardiff, drier Sunday as mentioned earlier. Swansea on the western coast is in quite a favoured position. Some brightness possible both days, temperatures 7 to 9 degrees. Newport similar to Cardiff. Bangor up north is more exposed to showers working around that low pressure, so a bit wetter, particularly Saturday. Aberystwyth on the west coast should see some brighter spells developing. Scotland shows a dramatic split. Edinburgh, you are stuck under cloud and damp from the North Sea. Grey, dull, outbreaks of rain and drizzle, temperatures only 5 to 6 degrees. Glasgow, completely different Saturday. You are in the drier, brighter zone. Potentially quite pleasant, actually, with some sunshine. 6 to 7 degrees. But wait until you see what's coming Sunday. That weather front swings in from the Atlantic Sunday afternoon, bringing a band of rain across western Scotland. So Glasgow, Paisley, the western central belt, rain developing Sunday afternoon into the evening, quite persistent. Aberdeen and Inverness stay damp all weekend, stuck in that har and sea fog. Aberdeen particularly, temperatures only 5 or 6 degrees, feeling colder with the wind. Inverness, similar conditions, though perhaps slightly less persistent with the rain. The Scottish mountains, Cairngorms and Grampians, still seeing snow on the tops. Not significant accumulations, but enough to keep things white above 800 metres. Actually, the snow level fluctuates quite a bit with these passing showers, at times dropping to 600 metres with the heavier bursts. Hill walkers, be prepared for wintry conditions above that level. Dundee and Perth, similar to Edinburgh, stuck in that eastern damp zone. Northern Ireland, Belfast as mentioned, grey Saturday, but improvement Sunday afternoon before the next system arrives. Derry, similar pattern. Western areas, Enniskillen and such might see the best brightness Sunday morning before that front arrives. Liverpool and Blackpool, showers both days, 7 to 8 degrees, windier on the coast being more exposed. Preston, Lancaster, same pattern of scattered showers. York, dull and damp, rather dreary, 6 to 7 degrees. Hull, even more exposed to that North Sea wind, feeling particularly cold. Right then, Sunday night into Monday. Most models suggest low pressure drifts eastwards and we get a brief ridge from the west. Monday starts dry for most, perhaps some sunshine, particularly western regions. But here is what concerns me most. The Atlantic is brewing the next system. There is developing low pressure west of Ireland tracked towards us for Tuesday night into Wednesday. The Met Office model is aggressive, bringing it straight across Ireland into Wales and southwest England Wednesday morning. The European model is slower, keeping it offshore until Wednesday afternoon. This timing difference matters enormously. If the Met Office is correct, persistent rain affects Wales, southwest England, possibly the Midlands by Wednesday morning. If the European model is right, we stay dry until Wednesday afternoon or evening. Tomorrow's model runs should clarify this. There is one location that could see something unexpected. If that ridge builds strongly Monday and Tuesday, whilst the rest of the UK sees cloud and rain from the west, Orkney and Shetland might end up with settled, dry conditions. Counterintuitive, but the jet stream configuration could set this up. Temperatures through next week stay in that 7 to 10 degrees Celsius range for most areas. Nothing particularly cold, but nothing particularly warm either. Very much typical late January, early February weather. Winds moderate, mainly southerly or southwesterly as Atlantic systems come through, so no significant wind chill to worry about for most of us, except those North Sea coasts as I mentioned. I know this isn't ideal for anyone hoping for settled conditions. Unfortunately, the pattern we are in at the moment, with the jet stream positioned just to our north and these Atlantic depressions queuing up, it's classic unsettled British weather. The models aren't showing any significant change to this pattern through at least the next 10 days. Now, model reliability beyond 7 days drops off considerably, so I'm not going to speculate too much, but currently it looks like more of the same. This is rather unusual for this time of year, late January, early February. We're not seeing any real cold air masses developing. Normally we'd expect at least the potential for northerly or easterly outbreaks, bringing colder conditions, perhaps some snow to lower levels across the country. But the setup we have at the moment with low pressure dominating and winds from the south or southwest, it's keeping things mild but unsettled. The beast from the east scenario, that Siberian cold air mass, there's absolutely no sign of that in the current model output. The models just aren't showing any blocking patterns developing that would allow cold continental air to flood in. Let me clarify the rain accumulations because this is important. Over the next 7 days, across England and Wales, we're re-looking at 25 to 50 millimetres quite widely. Some spots, particularly western hills and mountains, could see 75 to 100 millimetres. For Scotland, the Western Highlands could see 100 to 150 millimetres. Now, these aren't exceptional totals by any means, but given how saturated the ground already is from all the recent rain, there is the potential for some localised flooding issues, particularly in the usual flood-prone areas. The Met Office flood warnings will be updated regularly, so do keep an eye on those if you are in a vulnerable area. Actually, I should be more precise about the regions most at risk for flooding. The Environment Agency is particularly concerned about catchments in southwest England, parts of Wales and northwest England. Rivers like the Severn, the Wye, the Ouse, they were all running high already. Another 50 to 75 millimetres of rain could push some of them over bank full levels. It's not a widespread flooding scenario we are looking at, but localised issues are certainly possible, particularly in areas that have seen problems in recent weeks. Transport-wise, The main concern is spray and surface water on the roads, particularly Sunday and again midweek as those heavier bands of rain come through. Rail services could see some delays if we get any localised flooding affecting tracks, which has been an issue recently. Nothing too disruptive expected at this stage, but do allow extra time for journeys, especially if you are travelling through areas prone to flooding. Now, I mentioned earlier about checking back tomorrow, and here is why that is genuinely important. The model run that comes in tonight, particularly the midnight European model and the early morning Met Office run, these are going to be crucial for nailing down the timing and intensity of that Wednesday system. If you are planning anything for midweek, you really do need that updated forecast. And of course, I'll be covering all of that in tomorrow's video, plus I'll be going through the comments and giving personalized forecasts for the locations you've mentioned. Speaking of which, I am genuinely interested in what you're seeing in your area right now. Are you in that dull, damp eastern zone? Or are you in the brighter western areas? Have you had any flooding issues? Drop a comment, let me know. It really helps build a picture of what's actually happening on the ground, which complements all the model data we are looking at. Looking a bit further ahead, and I must stress, this is speculative at this stage, but there are some tentative signals in the very long-range models that we might see a pattern shift around mid-February. Some of the ensemble members are showing the potential for high pressure to build more substantially, which could give us a more settled spell. But equally, other ensemble members are showing the Atlantic pattern continuing. So at this point, it could go either way. The one thing I would say is that February can still bring cold snaps. We've seen significant snow in late February, even into March in recent years. So whilst the immediate outlook is mild and unsettled, winter hasn't necessarily finished with us yet. If there's one thing to take away from this forecast, it's that we are in for a continuation of rather grey, damp, uninspiring weather for at least the next week. Nothing severe, nothing extreme, just persistently unsettled. Temperatures near average for the time of year, winds moderate, rain at times, sometimes heavy. Very much typical British winter weather, if I'm honest. Right, let me give you a quick recap in natural speech. This weekend, low pressure dominates, bringing a mixture of cloud, showers, and some brighter spells, mainly in western areas. Eastern regions stay dull and damp with that nagging North Sea wind continuing. Sunday sees a weather front affecting western Scotland and Northern Ireland, with more persistent rain developing through the afternoon and evening. Monday looks drier for most areas as a brief ridge of high pressure builds in, but then midweek, Tuesday night into Wednesday, the next Atlantic system arrives, bringing more rain, particularly for western areas initially, then spreading. Temperatures throughout staying between 7 and 10 degrees Celsius for most locations, feeling colder along North Sea coasts with the wind. The uncertainty I mentioned earlier about that Wednesday system, that's what makes tomorrow's update so important. By then we'll have had at least 2 more complete model runs, and the picture will be much sharper. I'll also be able to give you more specific timing for that rain, which is crucial if you've got plans or need to travel. Here's something I think you'll find interesting. The reason we restuck in this pattern, it's all down to the jet stream position. Currently, it's sitting just to our north, around 55 to 60 degrees north latitude, and it's not particularly strong or amplified. What we need for settled weather is for the jet to either move well to our north, allowing high pressure to build underneath it, or for it to amplify into a big ridge. Neither of those things is happening at the moment. The Jet S just sitting there steering these low pressure systems right over us one after another. It's like a conveyor belt of Atlantic weather. Now, jets can shift quite quickly, within 48 to 72 hours sometimes, which is why I am not writing off the possibility of a pattern change, but currently there is no strong signal for that in the next 7 days at least. For the third and final time, please do leave your location in the comments. I go through them all, and tomorrow I'll be picking out 15 to 20 locations and giving detailed day-by-day forecasts. It's a chance to get much more specific information for your exact area, which is difficult to do in a general UK forecast like this. Whether you are in a small town or a major city, drop it in the comments and I'll try to cover it. Tomorrow's video will be out at the usual time, 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'll be focusing particularly on that midweek system, the timing, the intensity, and which regions are going to see the heaviest rain. There is also going to be an interesting development in the long-range models worth discussing. I want to spoil it now, but let us just say there might be something more interesting developing for the second half of February than the current bland pattern suggests. Something worth keeping an eye on. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate you taking the time to stay informed about the weather. It makes a genuine difference when you know what is coming, particularly with the unsettled conditions we are experiencing at the moment. Do check back tomorrow for that updated forecast and your personalised location forecasts. Stay dry out there, and I'll see you tomorrow morning with a much more detailed look at that Wednesday